give him a warm Dallas welcome. Here's Doug Reitmeyer.
So in order to do a federal contract, you cannot bid a federal contract and get awarded unless you're registered to bid. So the federal government has this CCR registration, and we put a booklet. A lot of you, if you signed up for this, you probably got an email from me where I said, getting started. And it walks you through these steps. If you don't have it, if you go to GC Experts and go through the videos, there's a place on there where you can download the book, Getting Started. But we're going to walk through real quick what these steps are. You have a company name, decide on a corporate structure, set up your corporation, order corporate paperwork, get your ID number, get your Dun & Bradstreet number, and a lot of this you may already have. And then we get into the things ready for the government. So once you have this, your account set up, you have to have the accounts, and then you can register in CCR, ORCA, and so forth. But you can't do these down here until you get some of these up here done. And when you set foot on a government job, you're going to have general liability insurance, and that will be detailed out in that. Key 2, finding the jobs. There's a number. Anybody look for government projects at fbo.gov? You familiar with that? fbo.gov, Federal Biz Ops, they call it. And the problem with Fed Biz Ops and these other websites are that they put so many other things on there too. So there's an average of something like 11,000 procurements going onto that website every day, only a very small portion of its construction. So here's what the Fed Biz Ops website looks at. How many agencies are there? There's over 200 federal agencies. A lot of people don't realize that there are significant ways of finding government projects other than fbo.gov. In fact, here's a list of the 200 federal agencies. And we have an advanced course that we teach that we get into this real heavily, how to get in with all 200 agencies. So we created a tool a number of years ago. It's a brilliant University of Texas computer science major that worked in my office one summer as an intern. And she was watching what I was doing, and I was getting 50 to 100 government projects in a day. Back in those days, they would mail them to you. So I'd get a stack of mail like this every day. And she saw what I was doing. She said, you're only bidding 5 to 10 jobs a day, but you have 50 to 100 a day coming in. Why is that? And I said, well, you know, that's kind of my own secret. She said, what do you mean? I said, well, I track everything that the government does, and then that way I can see what everybody else is doing. And they later made a movie called 21, where kids were doing this with counting the cards in the casinos. They figured out how to beat the casinos. Anybody heard of that movie 21? Well, that's kind of what I was doing. I was kind of looking at what everybody else was doing. And in fact, for the last 5 awards that I and our client companies got, we were the only bidder. And people say, how can you be doing government work and you're the only bidder? I said, well, if you kind of watch what everybody else is doing, you can kind of figure out what people aren't. Track reports look like. We can track everything that goes on in the United States domestically in less than 5 minutes a day. We put a special software system in where this is what you're wanting in our membership program. We train you how to do this, so you kind of get this global picture of the construction work. Federal set-asides is key number 3. Oftentimes there are set-asides such as the small business, emergency small business, the service-disabled veteran area, the 8A, also historically underutilized business district. Anybody familiar with HubZone, this concept? Okay, we got several people who have already been through some of that. And that's just a matter of going to the SBA website. You go to sba.gov/HubZone, and just go down through here and it'll show you in your area. And so this is how that kind of, you put in your information. Now we'll get to the next key, and that is to think globally or domestically as opposed to, you know, when I started out in construction, I was just doing work in Killeen, Texas. I was a soldier at Fort Hood, getting out of the Army. I needed a business. And it kept bouncing my head against the wall because the incumbents, the contractors that had been there for years, seemed to do everything they could to steal my customers, cut their prices, whatever it took, to keep me from getting business. Yet, the minute I stepped on Fort Hood and started bidding jobs, it was a level playing field. All I had to do was meet the qualifications and be the low bid, and I got the job. So that led me to Bergstrom Air Force Base, then down to San Antonio, and then I got a phone call from one of the guys I've been in the service with up in Auburn, Washington, and he said, hey, why don't you come up here and do this job in Spokane? We'll show you that job here I think, or maybe we already, yeah, we went to the Spokane job. That actually came out of a guy that said, come up here and do this job, we need a contractor to do it. And then another guy worked at Walter Reed, went up there, and then the guy at Walter Reed went to the Naval Academy. I got a job at Rick Overhaul, and then I just said, okay, well, I only have one customer, it's the U.S. government, I'll do it wherever they want, and you can see I've done coast to coast, over 1,000 contracts. The idea of what the work is, the electrical work that you do here in Texas is the same as the electrical work that you do in Washington. And the plumbing work you do here in Texas is the same plumbing work that you do in Florida or any other state. It's really not any different. A lot of times people think, well, because I'm licensed here. I mean, I got a master mechanic's license, a master electrician's license, and a plumbing license in 1976. Once I was licensed here, and I went up there, the government, in their federal buildings, all I had to do was be licensed anyway. It's eminent domain. So I could do work anywhere in the country, with a single exception. Number 5, clarity. I tell everybody, what made it successful at Langley Air Force Base, that was a $1.374 million contract that has since turned into a $2 million contract. We'll get into how once you have a contract, how you can make more money out of the contract by providing additional services. But it comes down to providing the information that they ask for. So some of the things, this actually came when we were preparing the slides yesterday. The man said, well, what do you want to do for clarity? Because he didn't realize that I had changed the 7 keys between Houston and here, and this was kind of new to him. I said, well, here. This was what I was looking at. It's right here. Just put down exactly what they want. And so, they'll have these things on there. Past performance documents described above. So we talk about how do you get past performance. And you don't have to have done a prior federal job to have past performance. You can have a commercial job or even a residential job. If you got a good customer, you got pictures of it, you can say, look, I did this work and it's similar to the work that you have there because of this, this, and this. As long as you're clear about it, you can justify or get them to justify awarding you a contract. These are all the things that we talked about right at the beginning. You have to have all this stuff, and then now we get down here to this must attend a site visit. One of the things that we teach is how do you go to a site visit 1,000 miles? Know the job site. With the tools we have today, Google Earth is amazing, and for 7 days you can get a pro version, 4 times more resolution than the standard version. With Skype, we talk to people that have done work out of a particular project, and we track down, what are the a bunch of YouTube. YouTube is amazing. I can have somebody go out there and just shoot a little video on their camera or cell phone, put it on YouTube, and then I can be watching it an hour later. Emails, of course, and photographs, digital photographs. LinkedIn, find out, what do you want to find out about me? I'm on LinkedIn. So most people are professional. Google Earth we talked about. And here's where we are today, right? Google Earth. That's it. Hey, where are we going? Just put it up there. So you can get a lot of information. When I was looking at some of the photographs for Rick Overhaul, I just typed Rick Overhaul photos in Google, and there's pictures of Rick Overhaul. Financing and getting paid. A lot of people don't realize how fast you can get paid by the government. They hear all these horror stories about it takes forever and all the regulations and so forth. Well, we sit down and figured out, read the regulations, got with the government, and said, how can we accelerate this process? I actually had my brother on it. Once you have a contract with the government, there's ways that you can work with the government within the regulations that you can get paid fast. You can always get paid under the Prompt Payment Act within 14 days. This new WAWF, Wide Area Workflow, you can often get paid in 7 to 10 days. So it's having a system, knowing what it is, studying it, or getting somebody like us to come in and say, here's a template, here's the map, and do all. And then there's organizations like governmentconstructionfunding.com, where they will actually front money on a profitable contract against the receiver.